Nuke is like the Dyson of India.
A lot of customers do say that we are like the Dyson of India, which means that our products are well engineered, are well designed. At the same time, we are what India can afford.
Going from price sensitive to value conscious, why do you think that this is the right time to build for that segment?
Where we are today, we strongly feel that consumers start becoming product first. They're willing to pay more for something that's great. Today, India has many Indias. People talk about, are you a tier 1 brand or a tier 2 brand? That thinking doesn't justify how India is buying. Geographic tiering has become a thing of the past.
Welcome to Hard Truths by Vertex. Today I'm speaking with Ghazal Kalra, co-founder and CEO of Nuke. Nuke is reimagining home appliances for India's millennial and Gen Z consumers with a design-first approach that brings both aesthetics and performance to modern Indian homes. Vertex Ventures Southeast Asia and India led their Series A round in 2025. Now let's talk to her. Nuke is like the Dyson of India. Would you agree?
A lot of customers do say that we are like the Dyson of India, which we take it as a compliment because that means that our products are well engineered, are well designed, and take place of pride in people's homes. At the same time, we are what India can afford. We're very well aware that while Indian consumer is beginning to spend on things that give them value and are moving away from that price or cost sensitive mindset. We want to make great products that a lot of India can afford.
Of all of the things that you could do, why do Nuke?
First was me and my co-founder feeling the pain of not having these great devices or appliances in our home, and this happened around the COVID time where you're spending more time in the home, you're interacting with the furniture, the things that make your life easier, the home electronics, etc. And what we figured was that things that looked good didn't work well, or things that worked well didn't look good or were boring. And we were struggling to find actually a fan, and that's the story behind the Halo product design. There is this dead end in our house where there is no AC, direct AC air getting there, and there is no fan because we've chosen to put a light in that area. And it's when you sit in that, and if you want to read a book, it's a nice nook, and that's why the name Nook came about. Is we wanted to convert it into a sit out where you want to sit and read a book, but there was no air or circulation. And I went online, looked at what options were available, and what I saw was exactly what was available about 50 years ago in my grandmother's home, and her home was beautiful. But I felt like the modern Indian homes had changed, our formats had changed. One is that we live now in apartments. We want more things in our house, so the real estate available for everything is different, and our use cases are different. So what was available was a very high airflow fan, and that made sense that time. But what I needed was circulation, and that's when you need something to create a nice breeze, and there was nothing like that available in India. And when I just checked on my sort of condo group with other people that, hey, what do you use, and lo and behold, like at least 10 sort of messages popped up instantly saying, even I've been looking for something that's for my living room because we don't have a fan there. So that's when we started. And of course, like there was this like crazy habit that me and my co-founder picked up while we were in the Bay Area. So that's where I studied, and I had registered at the Stanford Design School, where I was studying design for affordability. It was a part of a larger entrepreneurship course, and and one of the things I took away was that a lot of the great design in the world is happening for less than 10% of the people. And as countries change, people want better and better products. As countries become wealthier and richer, people move from being cost sensitive to being value sensitive. And that thing stayed with us for a couple of years till this point where it all came together and we said, hey, let's build this.
Being going from price sensitive to value conscious, right? Like, Why do you think that this is the right time to build for that segment? Because India has been price sensitive in the past.
Yes. So one is India has been more price sensitive in the past, and today India has many Indias. It's just how those cohorts and those consumer mindsets are changing. 10 years ago, we'd come back from the Bay Area, we knew about this sort of design thinking. We felt it was not the right time to build something like this. However, in fast forward in 2023, 2024, with this the changing demographic, the changing aspiration, the changing affluence in the country, we felt this is an idea whose time had come. Also, if you sort of step back and see how countries and consumer behaviors evolve, when countries have lower per GDP per capita, price wins. As countries get slightly more richer, distribution wins. So that's why you'll see a lot of the large companies in India that were probably formed around the second half of 1990s, early 2000s, were led by distribution-led strategies. Where we are today, we strongly feel, and we're seeing that with what Nook is doing, and in some of the other segments where great consumer brands are getting built, is consumers start becoming product first. They want to understand the value that they're getting, and they're educated, they're aware, and they're willing to pay more for something that's great.
Yeah. Earlier, you mentioned that a lot of folks in your condos wanted products like this. So who then, how would you define your customer then?
So that's a great question, because while you will see a halo in a very affluent household, our consumers are now all over India. We ship to the Far East, to the Himalayas, even to Andaman and Nicobar. And the user, essentially, in terms of age, is someone who's between the age of 25 to 40 years. So these, we call them as sort of people who are going through major changes in their life, where they're getting into a job, they're setting up their home, they're starting a family, they're buying a new house, they're getting married. And Nook is becoming a part of really that entire that entire life that they're creating around themselves. Having said that, we've been surprised that our products have gone to people who are 65, 70 years. They've been gifted this. So recently, we've got our BFF fan, and we do personalization on it. And one of the personalization requests we got was Nani Cool. So someone's gifting it to their Nani, and then I called up the consumer and the user, and I said, hey, what, like, I was just intrigued, because we get to see the results of stuff getting shipped out of the personalization. And she said, my Nani hangs out with this group of friends, and they meet for their sort of daily tea or coffee, and it's uncomfortable, so I'm going to give this to her.
Okay. So before we move on, what is a BFF?
I'm glad you asked. So it just, because we keep referring to some of our products with the names that we've given them, and it's a fun thing that we do. We want to bring our personality as a brand in building that connect with our users. So every product gets a name, and the name has, of course, the etymology in something that's either core to what the function is of that product, or something that the user really connects with. So BFF is a personal hand fan, and it stands for Best Fan Forever.
Nice, nice. So people from across the India have been buying Nook products. People across the age spectrum has been buying Nook products. Is there anything else that has surprised you in terms of the customer?
A great surprise is the customer love that we got very early on, right? And it still continues to grow, where we've got about 15 products, and there are users who've bought like 10 plus, 11 plus products from us already. And it's just that intensity of customer love that we keep getting every time we build something and put it out there. The other thing that we've been surprised by at a sort of macro level is that, people talk about, tier one and tier two. Are you a tier one brand or a tier two brand? I think for us, none of that, anymore in India. We feel that thinking doesn't justify to how India is buying, it's really consumer mindsets. So, and we think of it in terms of aspiration, awareness, and influence. And you could be in a tier 2, tier 3 town in India, but if you are that age and if you have this mindset, you are our customers. So that's geographic tiering has kind of become a thing of the past.
So my own thinking is that if you want customer love immediately, the product usually have to be very high quality plus maybe well designed.
You can get a lot of customer love very early if you start reducing your prices and keep putting things on
Yeah.
discount, right? I wouldn't say it's customer love, because customer love is when they keep coming back to you, but you get a lot of customer traction, right? And that's something we have been very conscious of. I remember once, somebody I know who loved our product message saying, "Can you please put this on discount around Diwali?" And I said, "We'll have to downgrade the quality of our products if we start putting things on discount." And that's really the truth, because with home appliances, people think it's what you see is what you get, but it's really what's inside is what you get. With the Halo, for example, it's got 3 Japanese BLDC motor inside. Why did we pick the highest quality of BLDC motors available globally? Because we wanted this to be the most silent fan for India, because in the nook and corners where it's being used in the house, these are reading areas, or these are offices, or these are sort of like a studio like this, where along with airflow, a user wants silence as well. And it's been interesting because the biggest feedback we get on the product is just how insanely silent it is. And that's an insight that we picked through all our research, and we decided to make those component choices for what we're putting inside. And third is, of course, creating sort of sustainable and ethical supply chains, because you can build the same looking thing in factories that are not compliant or to environment or social compliances. And that, as a brand, we've always done from day one.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is one thing I've been looking forward to asking you, which is like your product development process. You mentioned about research. What is the process like? How do you identify these unmet needs? Because I mentioned earlier to you about buying the vacuum
Yes.
cleaner. That was something that I never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
If not for a wife, I don't think I'm buying one. But
Yeah, no, it's great. It's something that's so core to what we do and how we do things, and it's just how we were wired as founders, which is, see, there's one way of being an entrepreneur, which is you need something and you go build it out for the world. Of course, I had that need of that circulation, but how do I then say, okay, this is my need, but hey, let me talk to more users and see what are their pain points. And so a lot of our research starts by first listening to users. And as a brand, I think it's one of our core values, which is we listen, whether it's at the time of research or when users are using our product and if they have a feedback to share. And that's the community that we've created, where we are accessible, we are approachable, we take accountability, and we listen to users. And the other is build empathy around it. About 90% of the home appliances in India are used by women.
yeah,
Yet in India, there weren't any women led or majority women staff teams that were doing product development for these consumers in home appliances. I mean, there was we're working on a category, and I can't sort of spill the beans on it right away, but we were in the factory and I was asking very simple question that shouldn't the wire of this product be longer, because for women they need to move around with it, etc. And he said that in 35 years nobody has asked me this question. And I said, why? He said that the people who come in from another brand are 55-year-old men, and I have nothing against that, but I felt that captured in a sense that how removed the product innovation happening in this area is from where the users are. and we operate with very high level of empathy, like the silence and fans, or for example the juicer that we've created. It's while it's got great juicing capability, it's got a high torque motor, etc. But the insight was that, you know, women unfortunately carry the burden of keeping the kitchen clean, and like, you know, everyone's had juice in the family, but it's the woman in the house who's to go and clear up the mess. We designed it for ease of usage, so the least amount of attachments, to make juicing so easy that we actually say that anyone in your house can do this. One more example also with the vacuum cleaner, right? Again, the burden of, and this was something that I have lived through COVID. I had a vacuum cleaner. It typically comes with a lot of attachments. We didn't grow up vacuuming, so it's something that everyone has to learn as you become a vacuum cleaner user in India, is what goes where, right? And these attachments, these are basically products that are being built for the world and being sold in India. We realize that we are not a vacuuming first country, and one of the simplest thing we did is every attachment has a name, and it describes where this goes, so that not one person in the house, and typically the woman in the house, carry the burden of using it or telling everyone how to use or clean it. We've also given stickers, etc. So just like going all out on solving for usability. But the other is also that, you know, for example, we are primarily a mopping and sweeping jharu pocha country, and for decades, global brands have struggled to get us to vacuum. Now, through our research, we found that that's not going to change because it's just built into our culture. Like you were mentioning about the vacuum, and there's something we've built that's very core to how we used to clean mattresses. We figured that we don't want to give you a vacuum so that you can replace your mopping and sweeping, but in places where your jharu pocha doesn't go. So that's why the flexi stick. So the vacuum just bends into half and it goes under the sofas, it goes under the bed, and places where your daily cleaning will not get you. And that's been such a delight for consumers because they finally say, okay, this is something that I need, because you get it that that's where your, you know, jharu pocha is not reaching. And similarly, another thing we built is, we, because we didn't grow up vacuuming, we cannot look at this sofa and say how dirty it is, because you've got no semblance and of that, you know, typically what's the sort of suction mode I want to use it on. So we built our vacuum with adaptive suction, which means it takes the guesswork out. You put it on the auto mode, it's sensing the dust and it's vacuuming. Made it super easy for people to not get to use it and not get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And the other is also like it's built as the highest suction vacuum cleaner in India because we are a dusty country. Look at the amount of construction dust we live in. Our houses are not sealed because we don't have centralized heating. So it's okay whether it's winters to open the door and like windows and sort of let the fresh air come in. But today that fresh air comes with pollens and dust. And therefore, something that was built for, you know, for sort of London carpets cannot work on Lucknow daris. It's got a very high level of dust in the furniture and carpets, and we built for that to make it absolutely effective for India.
So the point that you made about the different parts of the vacuum cleaner. So last week I was shifting apartment. There were a couple of parts I don't even know from which vacuum cleaner and what it's used for. I was like, should I even keep this thing?
Yeah, we've lived this. We visited like with my team about 500 homes in India, and literally like there was this one house where this user had been a vacuum cleaner user, and I said, but do you use only one of this attachment? What about more? And she came back with all of these, and she said, but I don't know how to use these. And to us, that moment was not just relatable; it was personal. That it's not just us who's feeling this.
So what is the process? So you mentioned about listening to customers, right? Like turning that into insights.
Yes. So we do a lot of this, you know, being very close to the user, listening, visiting homes, talking to them, and every interaction is an opportunity. So even if someone's bought something from us, we still sort of, when we connect with them, we understand more about their lifestyle, not what product you want, because it's how they're living their life that we want to be a part of. Then we sort of use frameworks. These are internal frameworks that we have created ourselves, and also borrowed a lot of the learning I had while at the design school, because that's where what I learned exactly this, which is how do you convert empathy into product insights and specifications. We've used a lot of the bases what Stanford Design taught me, and layered with some of our own frameworks. We've created our internal IP on how we cull those insights on performance, design, user experience, durability, safety as elements. And then we sort of put a lens on it, which is what the customer will absolutely want in this product, what is something that they will find value in, and what is something they will find delight in.
Yeah.
And we build the stack of product specifications around it. For example, adaptive suction is something that people value. Flexible stick is something that they find delight in. That
Yeah.
you made my life a little bit easier.
Is there a product that has not worked out so far?
We operate in categories that are both large and small, and even the products that are built for the smaller categories where nobody is really caring
Yeah.
about the user, we bring that delight, because the few who need that, like the mattress vacuum cleaner,
Yeah.
really value that we've thought of that pain point they had. And that's exactly why, even in our consumer insights, we don't go by, do you need a mattress vacuum cleaner? The insight for mattress was, when we started researching on vacuums, we would find what would make them think of buying a vacuum, and people thought that was because their mattress was the dirtiest part in the house.
Yeah.
And they wanted it to be clean, because everything else has some mechanism of cleaning. You're doing jhadu pocha, dusting, you're mopping, sweeping, you're sort of dusting your home. But what happens to mattresses? And that's where
sofas.
and sofas,
Yeah.
yes. But mostly it was like the search word is mattress vacuum.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the sort of cordless vacuums that you get are not meant for mattress vacuuming, because mattress absorbs dust to the deepest layers. And that's why we knew we had to design something specific for this. We knew it's going to be a smaller market, because the people who have got the OCD of mattress
Yeah.
itself. But the people who are buying it are just, we get so much intense love and feedback from them that they are like, no, power users community for us. One of the things we built again through that research was, when we would say, okay, but how do you clean mattresses? They said that, my mom or my grandma used to put the mattress out and like
Yeah.
beat it with a
Yeah.
stick and put it in the sun.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, but why? So they said, because when you're beating it, it means it's taking the dust out, and the sun is just like it's just
Yeah.
hot and it's sanitizing.
It kills.
So if you see the mattress vacuum, it's a 4-step process. The first step is vibration, because it mimics that beating effect and it loosens the dust. The next step is, ultrasonic waves, the ultrasound and ultrasonic, the UV light in this. And the last step is a 60-degree hot air sort of air coming out at it, because it sort of dehumidifies or takes out the moisture from the mattress. So even like in very rainy parts of India, and the state where you come from also gets its
Kerala.
share of great monsoon shower. You also get that little bit of
Mold.
mold
Yeah.
and monsoon, sort of that smell, that
Yeah.
odor, right? And we've got users coming back and saying that I had skin rashes, allergies, sneezing, and my doctor said that I'm allergic to something in the house. Turned out it was the mold in their mattresses.
That I
And-
thought was unavoidable in
Yeah.
Kerala's case, because it rains cancer dogs for
Yes.
June, July.
Yes, and this is being used in homes where there is that environment, the climate, but also where people are more sensitive to allergies. I also feel that at this point in India, we all live with some level of allergies, undiagnosed allergies. If you've got like you're sneezing, or you've got like little bit of red or itchy eyes or a rash, that means there's something around you that's irritating. It could be chemical toxins, it could be dust, it could be pollens, or it could be mold in your mattress.
Yeah. So earlier you mentioned that most of the well-designed products are designed for the top 10%.
Yes.
And a lot of companies like Dyson or any other companies, they don't, not all of them necessarily look at what an Indian customer really want and sort of localize. So has there been anything that you've sort of changed, any design element?
Dyson is such a well respected company that we also look up to, because the disruption they got through in engineering is something that is just unmatched. At the same time, why are Indian use cases neglected? Because maybe the product development is happening outside India, or the other is that it's happening for the 10% who can really afford it,
Yeah.
right? And maybe the business case didn't exist for them. For us, we were working with different assumptions that we were beginning to see that India is changing, India is more affluent, and India deserves better. And every product has its story, from consumer insights to product development. Like I mentioned about the vacuum, right? They are all the highest suction, because our insight was India is a dusty country. Anything that's meant for like developed countries cannot work here, given the amount of construction happening around us. Similarly, for the fans, right? We created the category for portable rechargeable fans, given how hot our country is. We realized that people were moving within their homes and outside their homes, and living busier lives. So you could be in the kitchen 1 minute and then sitting in your balcony reading a book. You want your sort of comfort to move around with you, and that's why we created these portable rechargeable fans, very compact but great on airflow and silence around. And again, like in fans, the insight that we got was silence. So one of the things is these are the most silent fans in India. And it's not something that when you're talking to a customer or a user in the research, they will say it to you that they need. Of course, it's a fan, I want airflow.
Yeah.
You're not going to hear it if I ask you, okay, what do you want as your top 10 things in a fan? But it's when we spend time with them in their home, and people have been like generous, where they've opened their homes and kitchens to us, and we spend hours there just observing how they go about their life. We realize that the things they're doing, like anything that's noisy, will sort of create that irritability.
Yeah.
And that's the empathy led. It's not what we are hearing you say, but it's what we are feeling that you are going through.
When there's vacuuming happening at home, I usually go out of the home
Because of
because
the
I can't
noise.
take out the noise.
Yeah, it is. And we're working on a very cool product, which is for homes with pets, because what we've figured is that pets tend to get very scared. You're using vacuums
Yeah,
around,
yeah.
so something for pet parents.
It feels like you have thousands of insights, because I also have a pet, and that's the only time he would be staying in one corner without creating issues.
But is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know, maybe it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
He's just scared.
It's like they get a little scared. No, I'll tell you, there are so many products that I wish we could build just because they deserve to be built. Maybe they have a market or not. My daughter used to get allergies in Delhi, and and when she was about 4 years, the doctor advised to nebulize. And the nebulizer that you get, it's a simple machine, right? And this is a 4-year-old, and you put the mask and everything. It feels industrial, it feels scary for the kid, right? I don't think the nebulization is painful at all, but the experience was so scary for my daughter that I felt helpless as a parent, that only if this device was, maybe it had like the sort of favorite cartoons on it, maybe it was silent, because suddenly you switch it on and you feel like you've put on an industrial sort of machinery on. She got scared. And could that not have been designed a little better? And that's the empathy that we try to bring to products that we design.
Yeah. So, building these products, especially given the values that you have, the supply chain may or may not exist in the country, right? So,
Yes.
And for anything and everything, it's always pointing to China. Uh,
Yes.
how challenging is to really locally source?
It's um, it's not easy, but is it getting better? Yes. It's better than what it was a decade ago. The fact is that China builds for the world. So in terms of access to quality materials at the right prices within the fastest timelines is still possible in China. India has to get there. And we, as much as, it's as a brand building with a very today, not a very deep manufacturing ecosystem in India, never have we been frustrated that, oh, this is not available in India. I think we take it in a way that this is important for India, and as a brand building in India, want to be a part of it. And that's been the ethos with which we operate. We've never sort of said that this is frustrating. Let us fall back for this to another country. Having said that, um, there are some things that are still prohibitively expensive in terms of raw materials in India. And I'll give an example. For our kitchen range, which is called Eat, Slay, Love, it's our take on building safe kitchens in India, which is products that are not designed first, compact, high performance, but products that we can trust when we use them in our homes because they're built with safe materials. And especially given the sort of research that's happening on the toxin overload that's happening through cookware and ingredients in our kitchens. So we've used the safest grade of materials. Now the juicer, there's a part in the juicing assembly where you put the ingredients and the sort of the auger crushes the fruit mimicking hand squeezing, and that's where the juice is sort of made. It's plastic in most of the brands that exist, and plastics that have been proven to have chemical toxins. Now, when we wanted to do that, we knew that people who are using it are people who are healthy or have a health reason in their background. We picked the highest, most safest grade of plastic ever out there, which is called Triton. It's it's not available in India. It's been a year. We've been trying to create the raw material pipeline for it. It's not available, and even when we make it available, it'll be at a prohibitive cost for the consumer. So for those things, we still choose to go back to where we can build something affordable for the user.
Yeah. So we spoke about supply chain and the challenges there. Is there a non-obvious challenge in building Nook? The biggest one.
It's a really good question. We keep discussing and debating this, which is what is India's design language?
Yeah.
Because it's so diverse that as a brand that stands for design, great design inside out, how do you let create a narrow view or a coherent view of design in a country that's so diverse,
Yeah.
which is also getting influenced through global trends. And if you look at some of the great cultures, they all have a very well defined design language, whether it's Japan or Scandinavia or Europe.
This is something I've been thinking about a lot. The thing is, I can easily explain what a Western philosophy is,
Yes.
and I can also explain what a Chinese philosophy is. I cannot explain my own,
Yes.
what we stand for.
Exactly. And therefore, when we say that we are building design first, high performance home electronics for New India, what does being design first mean? And is it maximalism? But we believe that home appliances are not art or decor. They are, your silent home heroes that you can look at every day for decades. So it's been, again, getting informed through consumer insights and us seeing, listening to people and homes and defining it for ourselves. And as an extension of that is, how do we bring pride in design in India for India by
Yeah.
an Indian team, because we still continue to be influenced a lot by global trends. So how do we bring pride in that Indian design language and make it something that people take from India outside. Although a lot of our products are already being used outside India, and people take it with a lot of pride outside.
Yeah.
So those two things.
So one other aspect of a brand is also the engagement post buying your products, right? So both the support and anything else.
It's again been one of the pillars, just like insights and research and being product first has been, which is being a brand that listens. One of the things that we do is we've got a community team from day one, and every single person, and there is no customer service, the traditional customer service. There's a community team, and every single person, whether you're from product or finance or industrial design, has to put in X hours on that desk through the week. So everyone has to talk to the user, so that it creates that common understanding within the organization of who a Nook user is. The other, again, it's an exercise in empathy building. How do we take care of when there is, let's say, a product failure? So for us, the first step is actually designing and building great products, working with great manufacturing partners, so that our products perform well when they are out in the home. So we actually, as a brand, are seeing like industry lowest failure rates of our products because they're in ISO 9001, the choice of materials, durability, etc. And that enables us that once in a while, if there is a product failure, we take accountability and we fix it without cutting corners or disappointing the consumer, because we've got the time and the resources to do that. If your failure rates are high, which means you've made compromises upstream, then the downstream is just patchwork or band-aid, where we sort of repair it, or we will have to send you a refurbished product. With us, none of that happens. And again, this design was through a workshop that we had done on what have been some of the best consumer experiences that people have had with brands and the worst, and basis that we were able to put down the blocks for what it'll mean for us.
You're launching a number of products, right? So that comes with its own challenges in the sense like you have to figure out the supply chain for all this. Why that strategy though? And what are the risks involved with that?
I'll give you a data, right? And if you sort of look at this as a founder, then you question the other way, which is that why should I not do this? The appliance per household penetration in India today is about 1 or just less than 1.
Yeah.
This number is 12 in US.
Yeah.
And this number is about 4.5, 5 in China, which means up until now, we've only seen appliances getting built for probably kitchens, where you've got the mixer grinders, the food processors, maybe ceiling fans, a few things in the house. But the household penetration of appliances is at the cusp where now it's turning, because again, those macros that we discussed, which is affluence is increasing, it's a young population that's setting up homes for the first time, and they are aware, aspirational, young, and affluent. And given that data point, we knew that Indians are going to buy more and more, like the new India is going to buy more things for their product over the next decade or two. And therefore, this was a feature we wanted to build into our brand, that we are going to be India's number one home appliance brand for new India. And once you've that's your sort of vision, then everything else is how do we do it. We created from day one a new product development or a product innovation engine and a process that could take care of this scale. So it's a little bit designed like how software teams are designed. So essentially you could think of us as a hardware, we're building physical products, but we are organized like a software company. And that was because my previous venture was in the sort of software space. But that's also how, if you see people describe some of the best hardware tech companies like Apple and Tesla, right? That how they are agile, nimble in their product development process. And there are mechanisms to be built in it, like deep insights, prototyping, quick testing, and then sort of, product launches. So that process we set up from day one, and it's improvised. Maybe the day one process was 30% of where we are today, but it's been the ethos that we will need that. The other thing has been thinking that we will build the best products with the best manufacturing partners, and so that we get each of the products we put out has a high NPS. So we've never cut corners on, even after you may have a great design, but the manufacturing is not great. So that's frankly been the perhaps a little bit of the challenging part, because it's not the easier answer. It's the slightly more right answer for us, right long term, which is that partner with the best for manufacturing and the best quality products.
Yeah. Okay, you already have a bunch of categories, but if you were to pick one category to move into next,
Yeah.
what would be that and why?
It's and you should join some of our NPD workshops, because the voices get louder the moment you sort of start taking ideas off, because like there are so many unmet use cases, that and we've got a very young team. So the good thing is that it's the team that's building products that they're also using. It's tough to say no to certain categories, but what I can tell you is that we're going deeper into the categories we are in as well. So whether that's kitchen or fans, we're launching with heaters. We're sitting in Delhi, so you can experience the sort of winter chill. We are going deeper into vacuums as well, and so that's happening. And there are two more categories getting launched next year. But if I had to, given we're sitting in October end in Delhi, there's one category where, irrespective of how large it is air purifiers.
Yeah.
Affordable, high performance, design first air purifiers for your homes.
Okay, so if you were to fast forward 10 years, what would Nook look like? And what would be like a success? And what would be the kind of challenges that you think would face?
I think in the near term, we want to be India's number one home appliance brand for the new India. The next 10 years is interesting, because for me to today say what we would be doing is if I had uh, a crystal ball that I could gaze into. But it's interesting, because what will end up happening is, through this, we're building capabilities of insights and manufacturing, but our stack is power, our stack is battery, motors, electronics, and compute. And if you put that together, then that's transferable to many other sectors that you could disrupt, right? And that sort of would be something that we evaluate as we get there. But for the next 5 years, it's sort of, we've got our eyes set on the space that we are in, and it's such a large market, and it's only like it's still day one for us. In terms of what we want, as a founder, you want the impact that you would have created in people's lives. For us, if we can enable Indians to live better, live more comfortably, feel proud of the homes and the lives that they're creating, it's time well spent building Nook.
Yeah. One last question. So there are brands like Apple and also probably Dyson. They've been around for decades, right? So even if people were to really appreciate you maybe now or even 5 years down the line, preferences could change. Nook could become the parents, grandparents brand
Yeah.
for the younger generation probably.
Yeah.
Then how do you stay
It's-
relevant?
So it's a question that needs a double click on what brands really are, right? Brands give people a way of understanding a very complex world. Uh, and there are brands that are built on the ethos of identity, that your identity is different from someone else. These typically tend to be brands that play on a certain demographic or cult. They also become the cult brands, and we've got many examples of those, global as well as Indian. There are brands of trust. Like there are a lot of brands of that my grandparents use that I continue to trust, and then there are brands that have to stand for something. And never in the journey so far of building Nook have we thought of ourselves as either a brand of identity or something that's riding a trend or a wave. We are building the foundation of something that stands for uh, something more meaningful. And for us, that is, we build products today that are designed for you, whether they look good or perform well. They're high performance, and they are things that you need, want, and can afford. And for us, the challenge will be to stay relevant as times change, as our customers grow or more users come into our cohort. The exciting thing is that India is a very large market. So, this is a problem to solve for probably closer to a decade out. And similarly, the brands that you mentioned, right, whether that's Apple or
Dyson.
and Dyson, they have stood for something beyond trends and fads and identity. And we've built that into how we've thought of building Nook.
Yeah. Yeah. This was amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this again.
Thank you. My pleasure. Lovely conversation. Thanks so much, Rahul.